Namaste. In this video series, we will discuss about the most important character in Shadyantra. It's called Senapati, or in modern chess we call it as Army General or sometimes as Queen. Senapati can only be one in entire army. Senapati are one rank above Maharathi. In modern chess we call Maharathi as Rook. And normally Senapati can move only one step at a time. Remember, Senapati is the commander of army, powerhouse of army, and can help army and officials in striking and promotions. We will now discuss how a Senapati or army general moves with some examples as well. In the previous videos also, we have already mentioned that army officer or royal officer can move one step at a time in normal conditions. Empowered Senapati or general can move 1 plus 2 equal to 3 steps in any direction. An empowered Senapati can move like any regular army officer. Senapati general is intermediate rank higher than Maharathi. It's like a 0.5 rank higher than Maharathi, and hence can jump like Shurveer or Knight. For example, 2 steps straight, or 2 steps diagonal, then straight, then 2 steps like diagonal and diagonal, or 2 steps like straight and then diagonal. In the first example, you can see on this image that Senapati is not surrounded by any powerhouse, hence Senapati can move only one step on his own. In second example, you can see a web-like structure. Senapati is empowered by Guptchar or spy, and hence empowered Senapati or general can move maximum of 3 steps, like 1, 2 and 3 in green, or like in blue, straight and diagonal, 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 diagonal and straight, just like Knight. In the third example, empowered Senapati can move maximum of 3 steps because a Senapati is empowered by spy. If general is breaking the border in second or third step, then all powerhouses must be out of their palaces and alive. In this example, you can see that general is trying to break the border by moving the third step, but it is unable to do so because king and minister both are in palaces. Similarly, the third example to 3.1, here Senapati or army general is trying to break the border by moving 1, 2 and third step, and on the third step Senapati is able to break the border because the king and minister both are alive as well as they are not in their palaces. Now we will discuss how Senapati or general strikes the opponent, and we will share some examples as well. Senapati general can strike the opponent if following conditions are met. King, minister and Senapati, all 3 of them must be alive, and king, minister and Senapati, all 3 of them must be alive as well as they should be out of their palaces. So we'll see the example. In first example, Senapati is able to strike the opponent up to its own rank. So Senapati general without any power can strike opponent up to Senapati's own rank, including Padati, Guptchar, Gajarohi and Shurveer and Maharathi and Senapati. In second example, you will see that Senapati is empowered. An empowered Senapati can strike opponent up to any rank, including even king and minister. Important thing to remember is that Narad or Raj Rishi cannot be captured as they are not enemies. Now we will discuss how Senapati or general is pushing the opponents. We will see some examples also. Senapati or general in normal condition, when they are not empowered, can always push opponent of any rank. If any powerhouses like king, minister and general, if anyone is dead, then also opponent can be pushed and cannot be captured. Similarly, if anyone from the powerhouses like king and minister and general is inside palaces, then also opponent can be pushed but cannot be captured. In first example, Senapati or general is pushing the opponent of its own rank without taking any assistance or power. The second example also, Senapati or general is pushing the rank of higher than Senapati's rank. Senapati is even able to push king and minister of opponent army. And in the third example, now Senapati is empowered by the Guptchar or spy, and Senapati is now able to move multiple steps like 1 or 2 or 3 steps and can then push the opponent. For example, Senapati is moving 2 steps and then pushing the opponent king. There are some scenarios where Senapati or general is not able to push the opponent due to obstacles. So let's discuss those scenarios. In the first example, you can see Senapati is trying to push the opponent pawn, but it is not able to push further because of obstacles. Remember, Senapati or general can push any opponent only to the direction of the last step, and Senapati or general can strike any higher ranked opponent if the opponent is obstructed. So in this image also the opponent pawn is obstructed. So ideally Senapati can strike the opponent pawn, but Senapati is still not able to strike the opponent pawn even though it is obstructed because Senapati's king and minister, they are in their palaces. In the second example, similar to first example, now Senapati is trying to push the obstructed minister, and this obstructed minister is unable to move further because there is a hurdle or obstacle in the direction of push. So Senapati should be ideally be able to strike the opponent minister, and in this scenario Senapati is able to strike the minister because Senapati's own king and minister are outside the palace and they are active. We will now discuss how a Senapati or general is unable to strike the opponents. Powerhouses also become powerless inside the palace. Army and army officers also become powerless inside the palace. Senapati or general in palace, whether active or inactive, will always make entire army strikeless. Similarly, Senapati or general when under refuge of Narad, then neither opponent can strike the army, nor Senapati's army can strike the opponent. Active Senapati general still in palace can push the opponent but cannot strike the opponent. We will now discuss the scenarios or conditions when Senapati or general can be promoted. Senapati or general can be promoted only with the help of powerhouses like king, minister or spies. Spies are basically demi powerhouses. In rare conditions, Narad can also promote Senapati. Senapati or general can be promoted only to minister. Please note that convicted Senapati or general must be demoted to normal Maharathi or Ruk. If convicted Senapati or general are not demoted, then they cannot be promoted. In the first example, you can see that Senapati or general is empowered. So you have multiple options like Senapati or general can be promoted as minister on its own place, or Senapati or general can move 1 to 3 steps and can become minister with the help of destination powerhouse. When walls or borders are crossed or broken, then the moving actor loses the ability to be promoted on that move. Movement across the border or across the strike is also not possible. Remember, at any point of time, there cannot be more than one minister at any side. Let's understand the conditions where Senapati or general becomes inactive in palace, although we already know about it. Powerhouses also become powerless inside the palace. army and army officers also become powerless inside the palace. Similarly, Senapati or general, when they are inside the palace, whether they are active or inactive, it will make Senapati's entire army strikeless. So once the Senapati goes into the palace, army becomes strikeless. Moreover, active Senapati general still in palace can only push the opponent but cannot strike the opponent. Let's see first example. You can see Senapati or general is inside the palace and cannot come on their own. In the second example, Senapati and general is inside the palace but has been activated by the neighbor minister, but still Senapati cannot strike the neighboring pawn. In the third example, Senapati or general is inside the palace and has been activated by their minister. Then also this activated Senapati cannot break the border. This is the exceptional scenario where Senapati can offer temporary ceasefire by getting into the peace zone or truce zone. Senapati or general, when offering the temporary ceasefire, means that army will not move ahead of the area or line of control. However, army can always strike beyond the area of control. Also, ceasefire offered by the Senapati or general is temporary. Senapati general offering temporary ceasefire has been discussed in another video. It is better to review that video and understand the ceasefire. We end the video for Senapati or modern chess army general. धन्यवाद. नमस्ते.